Welcome to your Monday. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne, aka your Mr. Monday, and this quick bit of motivation and inspiration was originally published on April 19th, 2021. The original message goes as follows. History and Hollywood show us glimpses of pioneers overcoming incredible odds to achieve great triumphs. In the moment, the coming triumphs are not so obvious. So going deeper into this message, it should seem pretty obvious that this is a message that says, while you are living through that trial and tribulation, that hard time, that trouble, you don't necessarily see where the triumph, the win, the glorious celebration at the end will come. Because at the moment, you are going through hell and you hadn't quite passed through it yet. And so while you're going through hell and you're told to keep moving, it still feels and looks a lot like hell. Now, the biggest issue with what I had here, the way I presented it, was history in Hollywood. History. When you read the history books, you read about all the great accomplishments of a person that they had to get through to get to where we are celebrating them. Right now, there's a documentary series playing on the news about Lincoln and basically all of his life, but going through everything he went through from the time that he got into politics to the point where the main focus is the Civil War to his assassination and how things were handled after that. History tells us that Lincoln was one of the greatest presidents of all time. Going through the time, there was a whole lot of crazy that Lincoln and his family and all the people around him were dealing with to get through, with the Civil War being one of the mid-level crazies. There was a lot going on in his family dynamic with him and his wife. There was a lot going on with the dynamics of just politics in general and people not necessarily liking him so much, but him being the guy at the head of the party, the guy that people had to back. History tells us that Lincoln earned this great spot in respect in life, but of course, he was assassinated because people didn't agree with what he was pushing for in that moment. And there's even a bit of a Hollywood dramatization to what we're seeing because there are dramatized images. Obviously, we didn't have cameras chasing around folks back then. So they are recreations of things based on what history has told us, based on where people have writing in their letters, what's going on, and based on just how we envision things should look based on the outcomes, not necessarily what's going on. And Hollywood shows us in these cases how Lincoln acts, and Hollywood shows us in many cases just pure fiction of storytelling, how people interact and get past things going forward. Think of your favorite action movie series or adventure movie series or even a simple love story and the story that's being told. Sometimes it's based on a true event. Sometimes it's based on just things that people have stumbled upon and turned into something that's a tangible story. Sometimes it's made up from whole cloth and just someone just decided this would be cool to see. But a great movie with a great story has someone overcoming some sort of triumph, overcoming some sort of a pain, I should say, to get a triumph. And when you see that, you see something great to hold on to, and you see something that's inspiring, and you see something that may make you feel like you could do better. But even the characters in those fictions don't know the outcome. The writer knows, the producers know, many people in the process of creating the story know how it should come out. And in fact, often once it comes out and is tested by actual other people to see whether they enjoy it or believe it, they change bits and pieces of it. They change endings. They change various scenes. They remove different stuff. They find that some things run too long, so they chop it out, and they find some things aren't quite long enough, don't quite explain a piece, so they reshoot it. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors in the Hollywood showing of a triumph because, remember, it's not real. It's a portrayal of an idea, which could be based on something real, but always glossied up for the better story, not necessarily the boring real story. And history itself, which if you go deep and down into what's going on, is much more interesting than many people think it is when you go into the weeds of where things go on. It also doesn't tell a coherent narrative, doesn't tell a story that's linear, as we say. It's bits and pieces that happen along the way. And in some cases, some parts are more interesting than others. And oddly enough, when going through history, sometimes you do it out of order because sometimes the things that happen later on that were affected by something are seemingly more important to be told before it happens, so you know what you're getting to, not necessarily how it gets there. History is weird like that. But everything you're going through, all the trouble that you're dealing with, all the big time issues that are slowing you down can lead to a great overcoming moment, can lead to a great triumph at the end. I never say anything is guaranteed. Nothing is going to happen as scripted in real life, because it's not scripted. It's real life. But you're just as capable of coming up with that great win as anyone else. You just have to dig down deep and get to it. Right now, when you're in the middle of it, it doesn't look so great. But if you can get to the end of it, it'll look a whole lot better. And that's whether you win ultimately or lose. In some cases, survival is the ultimate win. In some cases, the trophy is the ultimate win. You can get there. It may not seem so obvious, but a little bit of creativity, a little bit of curiosity, and just having the tenacity to keep on going can show you that you can be that closing scene that everyone is admiring and everybody's rooting for and everybody's inspired by. You got to get there. Yes, you have to get there. Hollywood and history may make it seem like it just sort of happens. The problem is we all know that's not how it works. History and Hollywood show us glimpses of pioneers overcoming incredible odds to achieve great triumphs. In the moment, the coming triumphs are not so obvious. This original message was published on April the 19th, 2021 from Welcome to You Monday. For more messages like this one, plus books, merchandise, and other information related to this project, visit the website, welcometomonday.com.